That's on page 15. We now move to page 16, Auditor General Reports.
Mr President,
Senator Gallacher.
I seek leave to return to a previous Auditor General report tabled on the 30th of August 2016 to allow me to take note of the Auditor General Report number 33, Performance Audit, Defence's Management of Credit Card and Other Transactions, Department of Defence.
Is leave granted? Leave is granted.
Thank you, Mr President. And I want to start in this. I've only got a minute.
No, we haven't hit the button yet.
I want to start in this contribution by referring to a letter of transmittal addressed to the Senator, the Honourable Maurice Payne, Minister for Defence, Parliament House, Canberra, ACT 2600. Dear Minister, we present the Defence Annual Report 2014-15 for the year ended 30th of June 2015. The report has been prepared in accordance with Section 63 of the Public Service Act 1999. Subsection 63(1) of the Act requires that our report be tabled in Parliament. And here's the punchline. Consistent with Section 10 of the Public Governance, Performance and Accountability Rule 2014, we certify that we are satisfied that Defence has prepared fraud risk assessments and fraud control plans and has in place appropriate fraud prevention, detection, investigation, recording and reporting mechanisms that meet the specific needs of the department, and the Defence has taken all reasonable measures to appropriately deal with fraud relating to the department. Yours sincerely, Dennis Richardson, Secretary, Mark Binskin, AC, Air Chief Marshal. So the Minister's been given an assurance that all of the probity requirements have been met. And, Mr President, it is contradicted by the audit report. The audit report is scathing, and I will just relate to one particular section. Defence has not exercised adequate central control over the issuing or use of fast cards or e-tickets. Defence has no system in place and little capacity to routinely monitor and manage the risks it has identified in its use of cab charges, e-tickets. Defence could have used an available IT system to help manage its risks, but did not do so. Did not do so. Defence has been advised that it advised the ANAO that it proposes to begin using an appropriate system. Despite the fact they've committed to the Minister that they were using a system, it clearly hasn't been the case. 4.6. On July 9, 2015, in the course of the audit, after giving the Minister assurances, Defence cancelled 31 of 34 fast cards mentioned above, but left active each of those that it provided to the then Minister for Defence, the Assistant Minister for Defence and the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister for Defence. And Defence had previously advised the Parliament in February 2015 that it does not issue corporate credit cards to the Minister or Ministerial Office staff. Defence informed the Australian National Audit Office that it was in the process of correcting this statement. The Australian National Audit Office has identified records of 261,158 taxi trips paid by e-ticket at a total cost of $16.28 million. $16.28 million over a course of 3 years, and they're a big department. We understand that. We understand it's a huge department. We were talking about $548 million of taxpayers' expenditure here, where they assured the Minister, assured the Parliament they had appropriate governance and probity controls in place. The Audit Office has found the reverse. 4.27 of the audit report. Some 17,905 different taxis, by recorded taxi number, were involved in making 261,158 trips over the period January 12 to July 15, a mean of just 15 trips per taxi. However, some taxis were much more fortunate than others in winning defence e-ticket work. Whereas 16,800 taxis undertake 50 or fewer trips for defence, some 12 taxis each took 500 or more such trips, with 3 of these taxis taking 1,000 trips. One particular taxi took 2,160 trips using e-tickets, an average of 4.5 trips per day, at a total cost of $174,621. On its busiest day, it did 15 trips, costing $1,162 in fares. The same taxi earned fares of over $1,000 on each of 7 separate days. 3 taxis earned over $100,000 in fares in the same period. Now, when you scrutinise this paperwork, it is exceedingly strange that Defence, with its claim of proper control mechanisms in place, would accept items like this. City to Pinkenba. Now, one can only assume it's the good city of Brisbane. I'm not sure it would be another city if it was going from the city to Pinkenba. That's the city of Brisbane. Now, that is 14.8 kilometres via Kingsford Smith Drive and State Route 25 and the M3. 24 minutes. 24 minutes. 14.8 kilometres. The Defence bill for that trip was $585.20. $585.20. That does not sound to me like they have appropriate mechanisms in place and use the appropriate technology to identify, misuse, dare I say it, fraud, and the assurances given to the minister clearly have not been, honoured. Small hours travel by e-ticket. Now we know that Defence is a very vital, busy organisation. But the ANAO analysis also identified taxi trips paid for by e-ticket and timed between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. in the morning. Now, one would imagine this is a period where little work-related travel might be expected to take place, with the possible exception of trips to and from an airport or shift work. After excluding airport-related trips, the analysis indicated there have been 1,263 such taxi trips in the wee small hours. So clearly the assurances given to the minister haven't been honoured. Now, the other simple problem with all of the efforts of Defence is that they've fundamentally failed to have a second person tick off on the transaction. Some 37% of all transactions have been validated by a person junior to the cardholder, and in a lot of cases by the person who incurred the expenditure. Clearly, Defence is deficient and proven to be deficient by this analysis of, I think, some 7 million transactions. I think the Audit Office has gone to the extent of analysing an extraordinary amount of transactions and has come up with an extraordinary amount of evidence pointing to a failure of Defence to do precisely what the 2 gentlemen responsible have said they would do. This issue is not uncommon, I suppose, that that there would be limitations in governance, due diligence, probity. It is a vital sector of the Australian economy. Defence. They move around a lot. You've got to do it efficiently. No one's arguing about that. But when you talk in your financial governance statements about low-value, low-risk transactions, and you issue a credit card with a $2 million credit limit, 3 credit cards with $1 million credit limit, you know, some 100 odd credit cards with a $250,000 credit limit, some 900 credit cards with a $100,000 credit limit. When you have that expenditure signed off by a person junior to the person holding the credit card, and you have a very high proportion of self-validation, the whole reputation of defence is impugned. My view is this needs to be diligently worked through, and the respectable people in the Defence Force need to be protected by proper probity and governance.
Thank you, Senator Gallacher. Are you seeking leave to continue your remarks?